Yeah. Exactly.
Kick it. Cold opening. What?
What the hell? It starts with you sitting at that desk describing the events of the first one, though not in very much detail, and then you see Nicole kind of walking up on
shot
him.
of Nicole coming up,
like
walking
her getting
up
up on the
table.
desk.
Yeah.
No, how about that opening, man? That was like the best game opening I've had since like Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, that was really good, actually. Yeah, especially for you.
Like where the guy comes up and I was like, what? What's wrong with his
I'll
face?
Explain everything. We just gotta get you out.
Yeah, it was crazy because it's the first time you really ever see someone change into a necromorph.
I feel like that's like Dead Space 2's opening salvo that like we have dialed things up considerably because you never see anything that close.
Right, that's what I'm saying. When you see him rip apart, you're like, anything could be going on with that guy's body going nuts over there, but this is like 2 inches from your face.
It's just so fucking graphically impressive right off the bat.
And then after that, you don't have the ability to defend yourself because you're in a straitjacket.
Yeah. So how did you feel about that, being defenseless for like the first 10 minutes of Dead Space 2?
Well, it would have been okay if I didn't keep running the wrong way all the time.
Way to go, Matt.
See, I didn't have a problem with that.
It's like there's a necromorph here on the right in a dark hallway. Here's a really brightly lit hallway where I clearly should be going down. No, I'm going to run toward the necromorph.
See, the only problem with sometimes like this in games for me that kind of takes the tension away is I know that they've designed it so that I will be successful. So I know
you'll die.
I didn't
butcher you.
I didn't die once.
As you're making your way to this room, you actually encounter security guards.
Yes.
And you hear Tideman and you realize that not only is the shit hitting the fan with the necromorphs, but you're marked.
Yep.
Like that they mean to kill you, and they almost do, except those two guards get pulled up into the vents by a necromorph.
Yes.
Well, the marker,
Convenient.
the marker's built. They don't need you anymore.
You know, there's this great foreshadowing where there's a screen. There's one of the doctors is interviewing Strauss, who's one of the other 4 or 3 people that they're doing the experiments on to learn about the marker. And he says to Strauss, the doctor says, "So how's your eye?"
My eye's looking much better today, yes, don't you think?
And if you play later in the game, there's a reason that he's asking him about his eye, and it's this throwaway line that you wouldn't notice your first time through, but when you play it a second time, a third time, you can't help but pick out all those things and go, wow, they were really paying attention to all these little details.
And also, I mean, the first time you play through, you're a little too amped.
There are definitely points where they want you to get hit like at least once, so that like your rig goes down into the yellow or the red or whatever.
You have to get hit. There's a point
Yeah.
where there's a quick timer where a necromorph grabs you and you have to jam X and then it
With the door,
and then it closes the door.
Right, I mean,
and your rig has to be red because that guy
says
he says your rig is red.
Your rig is red.
It's
yeah.
red.
Your rig is red. It's red.
Yeah.
And he tells you to go pick up the health pack. So
Right.
you have to be red.
What I liked about that first time you meet someone, though, is that it's like the first time since, like, I mean, Dead Space, the first one has it a little bit where you see, like, the results of what it does to people, like the marker. It obviously sends out the signal that kind of makes people have dementia.
Yeah.
But you see it kind of driving people insane, and seeing someone who wasn't, like, fucked up, like, visibly. But, like, that first time when that guy cuts his throat and it's just so violent, I was like, man, this game means fucking.
Like slitting the neck is the way that the marker makes people kill themselves.
Man, it happens really graphically in this. Like, he slits his
That's what I'm saying.
balls, and then it, like, shoots all over the
And it's
window.
gurgling. I was just, like, when I saw Arthur do it the first time, I was like, man, this game is not fucking
And
around.
to think about it, the gameplay of it too, they just gave you the flashlight.
Yes.
So after that, you come into the room with the body suspended with Kinesis.
Yes.
You get your Kinesis launcher, and this is where the game establishes that Kinesis is going to be your friend this time around.
Yes, Kinesis is worthwhile.
So you find the Kinesis module inside a machine, you rip it out, and then right away it throws necromorphs at you before you have a weapon. So that's a pretty great way of telling you, well, asshole, you better start using this thing.
Yeah, this game doesn't have a tutorial in the traditional sense at all,
No.
and I love it.
It throws you right into the shit right
It's
away.
gamey in the ways it needs to be gamey, like the way that the tip of every throwable spear like shines brightly white, just so it's easy
You
to
can
pick
find
out
it in
from
the
a distance.
environment.
Really? Because, I mean, definitely later on, I was totally throwing things with spears that didn't shine. Like, mops are a real motherfucker.
Well, yeah, mops are, but anytime there's a pole,
like spear, like
Okay.
this is us.
It always-
leaving a
it
spear.
twinkles.
There's
a white dot on it.
Okay. Because I definitely, man, I
oh yeah, mops in the end.
end.
Mops in the end were my weapon of choice as well.
It's like,
But
mop!
When you first walk into that room where the plasma cutter is, and the guy's all, "Oh God, why am I awake?"
Yeah, and just the fact that you didn't walk directly into the room with him.
No, you
Yeah.
walk by the lab that he's in, and
Exactly.
you see through the window. Then as you're turning the corner, you see someone strapped on a gurney
That's turned into a
transforming
necromorph.
necromorph.
Yeah. I love my favorite thing about that room is I know when you actually are pulling the plasma cutter, it's hard not to pay attention to the the necromorph coming into the room.
Oh,
He's
totally.
stabbing the guy on the table. But the next time you play it, on your second time, look at Isaac. Watch everything he does during that sequence. The animations are just great. Like he reaches behind the thing, looks over, he looks very scared. Takes the thing. You get to watch him fiddle with it and put it on his gun at just the right
He's like
moment.
hurrying as fast
Really
as he can.
good.
He really wants to save this guy's life, but he's like,
just too slow.
I have to make this gun happen, otherwise we are both dead.
I mean, it's very, very shortly after that you make your way into the triage room, which is where the stasis is hidden. It's like the last thing you must pick up. There's hallways that you go through where you walk through a room in the dark, and there's
And it's really
fire everywhere, and they do a thing where there'll be like a soldier that's dead on the ground, but he's got a video message coming out of his arm, and you get
It's
to,
just recurring, so you kind of get an idea of what's going on in the station.
There's all sorts of like cool story and environmental stuff, but I mean, basically the next major sequence is getting this.
Well, and I love what they do with the stasis thing too, because it's like, oh, so here's the tech in use in the real world, quote unquote real world.
That people are in stasis.
Yeah, people are in stasis. They use it for hospital beds, and stuff like that. It's like, oh, okay.
The only thing I don't like about that sequence is if you miss the stasis when the guy's running at you,
It will
it's
kill you.
instant death.
Yes, it is. I died. I died the first time.
Really don't like that.
Wow, that didn't happen to me.
I mean, the only thing I can
about
think of is that at that point you're still Isaac in a hospital gown,
Yeah.
and that is one of the more powerful necromorphs. It's a security necromorph, and not just like
I think it's just
Random
there
douche.
because they want you to realize you better fucking use stasis.
right.
It does a good job of teaching you how to use the stasis after that part of it, with a door puzzle. It's really straightforward.
Did you?
It's very
blow out
Half-Life-ish.
when you encountered the enemies in front of the window? Did you blow it out the first time that you did this?
Which
So you're walking down a hallway, and I think it's one of the.
you have to. That's a decompression gameplay tutorial.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, your character in all other I could be wrong because I didn't wait long enough, but in all the other decompressions, you shoot a window and
And then
your
you get
character
dragged
immediately
down.
starts getting dragged. In this one, he like grabs a countertop and he's like holding himself up, and I think that's to teach you this is this is going to keep going until you hit that button, you shoot that button.
So there's a couple more encounters, obviously, and then you get to reception, which is where you get the engineering suit. How triumphant did you feel when you finally got the engineering suit? Did you feel back to your badass self?
I felt like I would have thought that whole him putting on the suit was a lot more badass if I'd never seen Iron Man. But I felt like I was just like, oh, it's like Iron Man. That's immediately what I thought of, the way it snaps up over his face and stuff.
Right on.
So after this is the first brute battle.
Yes.
The big three-legged boss.
The three-legged bra. So the brute is basically just an exercise in stasis, although it is cool to see it knocking down pillars.
Yeah.
It's harder. I mean, I died more times. It took me longer to beat that guy than I would care to admit.
The first time I fought him, it actually took me a while, because you're still getting used to the way that combat is a little different.
The main thing I think is that you have to lead with stasis. I missed his legs a lot. Like that guy moves a lot and he's fast, and my first time of playing him, I would shoot stasis right through his legs, and I'd be like,
Yes.
damn it.
Jesus, that thing was angry.
So we fought the brute.
Yeah.
And then you kind of make your way into a tool shed, and you come out in Cassini Tower, or like the apartment complexes in the mall.
Where
just outside
shit's
of
going
Cassini.
down.
Right. Well, I mean, you pass by one of many fucking people mover sections,
Right.
like the moving sidewalk.
Yeah.
Fuck moving sidewalks in this game, by the way.
You mean how they
just
make
use
guys
your-
with exploding arms
Yes,
charge at you
Jesus
at like 3 times the normal
Christ.
speed?
That room I think is really good. There's a walkway coming towards you, and it moves way too fast if you activate it. The thing is that you can avoid the walkway. There's like use your melee attacks to bash through the glass barriers on the walkway, so you can just like walk on and walk right off the other side if you want, because all the environments are destructible. So if you actually make use of the tools you've got, you can really work your way through the environments.
I avoided the walkways. I was scared of them.
After this, you're making your way to the train station. You go into the apartment complex, like you said. You see shit going seriously wrong. You've never heard this many people screaming in a Dead Space game before, except maybe an Extraction.
And like the people that
people
are
in their locked in their
behind the
apartments,
doors, like
right,
babies crying.
You see a lot of like little intimate moments that develop this place as like a place where people live. Like you see a woman screaming for her mother and her husband pulling her away, saying that she's
you go
gone.
in that room and like necromorph in the bathroom where the mother was clearly dead.
You walk by the laundry.
Go through the laundry sequence. That's a great sequence. I love, the laundry room has that terrible sound because there's the one machine that's still going.
With the baby crying noise.
And you walk to the door to try to open it, and the lights turn off, and you're like, shit. But then you get this great moment where you realize, oh my god, my visor lights the world around me. Like, your gun, if you pull it out, it's a light source. But your visor is a light source, and it looks so cool on the walls. And I think first rooms, though, where I'm pretty sure the quarantine is lifted before you're done fighting the enemies.
I don't think it is. I think that
I didn't even remember it being quarantined. I thought it was just a power outage.
It's a power outage. It's not a quarantine.
All I'm saying is that the lights come back on and everything starts working before the combat is over.
But the door doesn't open until everything is dead. I don't think. Or maybe I just didn't pay enough attention to the door because there were things trying to shove bones.
I'm just saying, like they do the quarantine will lift, and you're not done with your combat scenario yet. So they do it to like lock you into the room to get you to start fighting, but at least it's not controlled by the moment when your bullet hits the enemy,
right?
For the most part.
So you go through more residential areas. There are more examples of necromorphs popping out, and just like sort of you're walking past this area that's supposed to lead into a greater town square, and this grated gate has crashed down, and you see a woman dragging herself along the ground, crying to herself, and finally she just curls up and dies.
If we're gonna just skip forward, I do like this one scene with really good lighting where you're in a hallway and this like this giant LCD screen flicks on.
Right, and that has another people mover, I think.
Is that
right after you see the ship collide with the building and he goes, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And like the giant TV screen after it turns on, like I'm looking at this thinking like, man, this is one of those parts in a game where they had to be really careful with how this works because it's like epilepsy warning.
When I first saw it, I was like, man, the lighting in this game is super fucked. Oh, that's the TV.
Yeah.
This is one of those parts that teaches you to listen for audio cues, I think, because you hear the weird the chirpy noises from the exploders down the hall. You're like, oh, okay, well, they're coming this way, but I can handle them. And then you hear one immediately to your right. So after that, you get to the tram station. I emptied this entire area of bodies before I went any further, because the very first time I played it, I didn't, and I fucking paid for it.
Anytime I see the infectors, anytime I see the infectors, I drop everyone else and just focus on the infector.
So the thing is, the infector doesn't appear until you get to the door of the tram, and the door is locked. It doesn't open until
it's a glass window, and you get to see him infect one guy. It's
right,
sort of like the infector. Even though you've seen him.
So now you understand.
Yeah, so really if you're smart, this is a situation that will demonstrate to you that when you see an infector, your first priority should be to get rid of the bodies.
Or kill the infector.
I was going to say, I just stasis him and then hit him with a line gun mine or any attack that you can to get rid of.
Something we didn't discuss before, but this reminds me, is that this is the second time that you have a Nicole hallucination, I think. And so, yeah, the first one is in the elevator where she like comes at you with her glowing TV eyes.
Yeah, that's very Dead Space 1.
As you're walking into the tram station, you see her against the wall opposite the tracks. And as she's coming,
really good hallucination.
Yeah, as she's coming forward and she sort of screams, and that's when the train goes by
with the flames all back in time.
Well, and then, like we go right into like the fucking
crazy
awesome
train
sound
sequence.
design with the crazy train sequence. And I mean, like you fight a lot of necromorphs up and down the train, but after you hack it and you start it and everything, like the like this being your first encounter with the anti-grav jump. It's kind of like the Halo jumps later in the game, you know.
The first part of it when you get on the train, not that amazing, but it's it's a fun combat room.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you do that zero gravity jump, like right after that is when the thing starts to crash, and you do the sliding puzzle that's like the Uncharted one where you jump between the two buildings after the thing starts to fall over. And then there's the hanging combat sequence where you're taking out the enemies, and then you grab a few of the spears and Kinesis, like of the boxes that are around you, grab up all the ammo you can, and you have just enough time before that first sack guy comes around the corner. Then you snip off that dude's sack, pull it towards you, shoot him in the head.
That right there, that's... No. I don't fuck around with their sex.
And that establishes another thing that's sort of important throughout the game, which is like the ability to prioritize under pressure.
Yes.
To formulate strategy under pressure.
And it has to be, it under pressure, on the fly.
Not only that, the whole time you're swinging. So you can't just like aim at something and you're just like right on it. You have to compensate.
So you defeat the brute or you don't.
You better, or else the game's over. And then the train comes crashing down in a very spectacular animation.
What happened? I thought we lost you.
Unscheduled stop.
No, so this is the part where you go onto the shopping plaza and the first time you meet the pack.
I thought the pack was in Chapter 2.
No, Chapter 3.
Okay. Anyway, cool.
So you go by the stores and like there's the little daycare at the other side that you're not ready to go into yet. Yeah. This is before you have the pulse rifle. I felt that the pack was kind of terrifying without a pulse rifle, but that could just be me.
Yeah, man, plasma cutter.
Yep. I mean,
you can like if you shoot the plasma cutter, cut off one limb and they're dead.
Use it in horizontal mode. Go for the legs.
So this is also where you go on. Do you see the larger shopping concourse?
Yes, it's called the concourse.
Yeah.
I love when you look out of the main windows in the concourse and you see Tideman on like a giant super huge
right.
screen.
Like, this is also where you see Lightspeed Boy.
Yes, he's like a giant statue.
You go into the recruitment center. There's another chance to use decompression. Honestly, I didn't use compression as much as I probably should have, but also later on in the game when I tried to, it definitely killed me a couple of times.
I thought they liked the way they colored the maintenance and stuff. I did wish that at some point in the games they would have made me feel like maybe they weren't totally safe.
There was one point where you see like
a shadow.
Yeah,
where you see a shadow, but it gets very clearly established to me that nothing's ever going to attack me there.
I do love those shafts, though.
I do too. If you're gonna make a maintenance shaft, make it look that awesome and make you crawl through it fast.
And not one of them looks the same. They all look totally different. And the fucking necromorphs use the shafts. And I want to use the shafts. I think the room right before the compactor is the one that there's a video playing of the guy telling you like, take off their limbs. See, I was able to use Kinesis, and I was able to tack him to the wall.
And he's clearly dying.
He's dying right there.
I'm going to bleed out. Like the last one, they clipped me pretty good. I hope this helps you.
Right.
I'm a little surprised that they waited so long to explain
that to you.
Like, it's an advanced combat mechanic, sure, but just that it's so important.
You see? Just shoot it back at them.
So this is the first part where you have zero gravity. Like there's another part where you're in a vacuum, but you're not actually in zero gravity. And this is where the first indication that zero gravity gameplay has changed from Dead Space.
And I love while you're moving around in your suit, like all the little jets that pop up.
Right,
like
that your suit is clearly designed to do this.
So cool.
AKA Iron Man.
Yeah,
or an astronaut suit. It makes all of the suits in the game seem more like space suits, as we understand them.
Yeah.
So after you go through the trash compactor, you're going through another residential area, but this is like unitologist housing.
Right. This is the apartment layout.
Candles
is
everywhere.
Candles everywhere. Jay Fresh always makes the joke. Or it wasn't his joke. It was one of his coworkers. But he's like, man, if I ever moved to the sprawl, I would fucking just open a candle store, man. Because I would make bank. There's candles all over this bitch.
What about a shroud store?
Yeah, there you go.
So you go through there. I mean, there's more. You meet the little necromorphs again here. The little tiny triangle
Yeah,
ones.
I know. Yeah, the tripod-y looking ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's more ways to get rid of those now than there were in the last one, which is kind of nice.
Well, and they definitely hurt you a lot more than they used to in the first game. In the first game, it was
If
so
you get
viable.
hit by a full pack of them, you're just dead.
That's in the first game I would just be like, oh, there's a group of them. I'd run into them and then just start mashing X to kill them.
Yeah,
but in
this
this one,
game
it's
can't do
it's
that.
like no.
You encounter Nicole again
Yes.
in a room.
And eventually, we get to some of the craziest early combat sequences in the game. Yeah,
But if
And there
you're
are
arguing
two
the right
major
one, like,
battles in the court.
This is the lobby with the marker.
yeah,
Yeah.
the lobby with the marker.
And there are two battles there. One when you go in and one when you come out.
Right. As you finish that fight, assuming you don't get fucking murdered, which is
you
a very distinct
probably
possibility.
will the first
Yeah.
time.
And if you're not careful, then the infector that comes out will go around that entire perimeter and fuck your shit up by activating a ton of other necromorphs.
Yeah.
You go through a lobby area, and as Dana's talking to you,
Tideman shows up.
not Tideman, but a gunship.
Yeah, Tideman's
Yeah.
gunship.
Tideman's
Tideman's
gunship
gunship.
shows up and knocks out the window, and you can get fucking killed by that gunship if you're not careful.
Right.
So after you escape from the gunship, you have arrived at the Church of Unitology.
Yes, this is it.
Dana, the Church of Unitology? Why here?